Many thanks for staying with us, everyone, and welcome back to the program. Dr. Olubukola Saraki, the Senate President, will be going back to court to defend himself in the case he won at the Code of Conduct Tribunal as the federal government moves to appeal the case. Chief Okoye Obala has been speaking to us. He is the Special Assistant to the President on Prosecution. He's been speaking from our Abuja studio. Let me quickly point out this to you from some of the reasons the Code of Conduct Tribunal acquitted the Senate President. Some of the grounds were that the prosecutors failed to discharge the burden of proof, that the defendant has no case to answer, that the evidence is discredited and unreliable. And it gets to the point that one of the cases brought in this case is that the EFCC, for example, was prosecuting Senator Saraki, which at some point they report that the EFCC said it was not prosecuting Senator Saraki. Are you embarrassed by the prosecution and the level of preparation for this kind of case for the federal government and the Attorney General office to lose yet another big-time case?
Well, it is not a big deal to lose a case. Every lawyer knows that we have three hierarchy of courts in Nigeria. We have the High Court at the lowest level. We have the Intermediate Court, the Court of Appeal, and then we have the Apex Court. You can win in the Court of Appeal, or you can win in the High Court, then lose in the Court of Appeal and then the Supreme Court. And you can win in both in the High Court, Court of Appeal, and you lose in the Supreme Court. Let me give you the case, the locus classicus case of Rotimi Amaechi and INEC. Rotimi Amaechi lost in the Federal High Court. He lost in the Court of Appeal. Then he won in the Supreme Court. Then let me give you another case. The case concerning the governorship election in Akwa Ibom State of April 2015. Umana, who was the candidate of APC, he won in the tribunal, he won in the Court of Appeal, but he lost in the Supreme Court. So it is not a big deal. I don't know why we are so agitated by losing 2 or 3 cases. You saw the records that were given to us, read out last week by EFCC, that they secured almost 60 convictions in the first quarter of the year. So it is not a big deal. Definitely this matter will go to the Supreme Court. And then the precedent, the law on access declaration will be established by the Supreme Court. For instance, the burden of proof that the tribunal used was wrong. The burden of proof cannot be on the prosecution because we allege that he did not declare his assets or his declarations were false. If you look at paragraphs 11, sub 2, 3, and 13 of part 1 of the 5th schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it's the burden of proof actually is on the respondent, not on the prosecution, as held by the tribunal. So there were a lot of holdings by the tribunal that were unreasonable, that were perverse against the weight of evidence. And we believe that this matter will go to the Court of Appeal then the Supreme Court. Then if
I may quickly come in because of our time, you're talking about issues of precedents, you're talking about the issue of the cases that have been lost. A lot of people will question how much the fight against corruption has gone, because even Professor Sage was reported to have said that the anti-corruption strategy of the federal government needs review in the way and manner that the AGF office or the federal government has lost so many cases. But let me quickly put it to you in this sense. Someone like a former vice president, the former governor of Lagos State, Bola Tinubu, have gone through a similar case at the CCT, and a lot of people have dragged the case of a political witch hunt on Senator Saraki. This is a political case that some people have reported. What makes a difference? And if you look at those other cases, it brings to the question why you want to appeal this case.
The case of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and that of Dr. Bukola Saraki are diametrically opposite. They are not the same. The facts and circumstances are not the same. The Tinubu's case did not go into trial. The case was thrown out upon a notice of objection raised by the defense team of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. But the case of Saraki, 4 witnesses were called. More than 46 documentary evidence were tendered and accepted by the tribunal. So the law, the facts and circumstances are not the same. So the case of Tinubu cannot be a precedent. And the case did not go to the Court of Appeal. It didn't go to the Supreme Court. So it cannot be a precedent. As I said, it was thrown out upon a notice of objection raised against the charge by Asiwaju Tinubu's legal team. We make so much issue about politics. What is the borderline between law and politics?
Yes, just as we close, the anti-corruption war is one major effort of this, is a cardinal agenda of this federal government. Just as we close, a lot of people are weary about the way and manner things have gone. Do you think that you need to review your strategy in fighting corruption in Nigeria?
We are just being unnecessary alarmist. Nothing has gone wrong. Out of hundreds of cases we have filed, we have just seen about 3 cases that we lost about 3 cases or 4. Is that enough for us to jump into the conclusion that we have not done well? We have done well. Look at the conviction rate or records of EFCC. I don't want to mention other agencies like the Drugs Law Enforcement Agency. They have hundreds of convictions, or even in thousands. It is also an anti-corruption agency. So why should we make so much noise because we lost 4 cases? As I have told you, this is just the beginning. And we are going to fight these cases until we reach the appeals court. So there's no cause for alarm. We have not done anything. We are working very hard. And the fight against corruption is on course, and I can promise that we are going to fight it to a logical conclusion.
Chief Okoy Obono Obla, the Special Assistant to the President on Prosecution, many thanks for coming on the program. It's a pleasure hosting you tonight. Just before we close the program, apart from the power to elect leaders, electorates have the exclusive power to recall erring representatives who fail to act in their common interest or in the overall interest of the country. And that is what is perhaps playing out in Kogi West. Well, it is a long, tedious process, but it has been kick-started and taken to the point where everyone now sees that those trying to recall Senator Dino Melaye means business. I should also mention that they are on the path of making history. Even as the embattled senator says, it is a comedy of error. So even if this effort ends in futility or shrouded in money politics, one message is clear. There is power to elect, there is also power to recall, and there is beauty in knowing these powers and their limits. Well, that's how far we can go on the program. Many thanks for being part of it. I'm Sean Okimale. Bye for now.